Hello and welcome to Dungeon Nerd, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
Let's do this. I just got super distracted because my phone case has a crack in it, I think. I just saw it. That's super disappointing.
And this is what you decided
But,
to
hey,
do
that's what
This is
my
the opening of our
apparently.
D&D
No,
podcast is about your
Yeah,
phone
this is my
breaking.
D&D dedication.
Okay. No.
Apparently so. Oh, man, that sucks. Well, anyways, lukewarm open time. So last night we played some good old-fashioned D&D, and it was super fun. It was a total blast, and it got me thinking a little bit about world building and people's worlds in general, like your world, my world, other people's worlds, famous fantasy worlds. And I was curious. So, is world history a really important thing in your worlds that you make? I'm assuming the answer is going to be yes, but is it something that's really important in your world?
Yeah.
So, here's my question. How do you make players either A, interested in your world history and like wanting to understand and figure out things within world history, or at the very least, B, how do you present world history to people that makes it fun and interesting? Does that make sense?
I get the second one. I mean that is definitely a hard question of how do you make it not just a lore dump?
Yeah, like how do you just like kind of go like, okay, most, at least in my experience, most D&D parties, well, maybe this isn't true. I guess the parties that I've been in don't like to just like, okay, let's go to the library and read for a session, right? Let's go to the library and just read through 25 books for 3 hours, right? So it's just, I'm curious, how do you like to present your world history, and use it to kind of like push the story along / make it something that's interesting and fun for the players?
Well, so there's a few different things I could do. One of the ones that I have done in the past is I will go and write it all up, and then I will, when the party finds it, I give the person who finds it literally gets this document of world lore. And so if they want to take the time to read it, they can.
You like write your own book?
I mean, not that big, but it's more of like, this is a summary of what the book would have said. So it's not like word for word the same book that they're receiving, but it's the basic knowledge of it, because I understand that sometimes people are like, oh, I'd love to hear all that. And then other times it's like, that is so much stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
It's overtaxing. So I was like, I know the players who would like to read it and the players who wouldn't. And like the 2 or 3 sessions ago in my game, one of the characters who had his memory lost for most of the campaign gained most of his memories back, and most of his memories were about like how the universe works and how like things on a larger scale than this world work. And I literally just asked the party, I said, do you guys want me to go through this with you guys, or just like do what I've done before, as I said, and just give him the write-up of what the world is? And they were all surprisingly like, yeah, no, just go through it. Yeah, we want to hear it. So I'm like, okay.
Here is my monologue commencing.
It was quite a monologue, because it was literally how the history of the world, of the universe, is what it was. And so it's a lot of stuff. But you're right. It does feel like I'm just giving them a huge lore dump, and it doesn't feel as fun as I would like it to be.
Yeah, so I was going to say, in a standard session, like, that has a lore dump in it. What's like your standard method of like, do you have players find books a lot, or do you have them find journals? Do you have like people talk to them? All the above? What's kind of like your favorite method of delivering world history to people?
I think my favorite way is weird characters.
Oh yeah.
So they find weird characters
Why?
and they can ask them questions, or because it's up to the players. Because then it's not, hey, you learned all this stuff, so either you have to know it either based on you reading it or me yelling it to you. Like, it feels like even the players who aren't interested in lore dumps are also interested in who is this weirdo in front of us.
Yeah, this person they can actually interact with and talk to.
Yeah.
Interesting and fun, and not just your standard book at a library.
Yeah. No, I think
Do you have
your current players
have,
in
like,
our game, we like crazy lore dumps.
Oh yeah.
So
I am a huge fan of big lore dumps.
yeah, so I think those are probably going to give you at least a different it's different than your typical party in that way.
For sure. Do you your group, because I'm interested. I know, like, in the past you've talked about how you have like a pretty big split in your group in terms of like play styles. You have like the older group that kind of has their own specific way of playing,
Yeah.
and then the younger group who has their little own specific way of playing. How do you juggle with that and deal with that in your group when it comes to lore dumps in particular?
That's where I developed. That's why I developed the write it up technique, because I knew some players would be very irritated of me. Well, so we had some problems. Like, we had some like legitimate players freaking out. They were super bored, super angry that we're doing it even longer in this. Which I'm going to be honest, love the player still. It's childish because it's saying, hey, someone else's fun is not fun.
Yeah.
And it's a little rude, but I am just I took it as I need to find a way to make that more engaging, and so I worked on that. And so this write up is the best way I could think of for providing if you want to learn, like, you can say, oh, I go to the library and I learn this stuff, and I'm like, okay, you make your rolls, and then I'll write up a whole bunch of world lore for you, so it doesn't have to. Now, I've even also done where after the game, me and another player, once we get home, we Discord call each other, and we're like, and we just have a conversation about what happened. Like, where he's like, hey, like, you don't have to go through all the stuff I learned at the library. You can just tell me after.
Which is also a pretty smart and good way of doing it, I guess, for a campaign like yours, like a split difference like yours for your party.
Yeah, I also think
you were kind of saying my whole entire group pretty much likes lore dumps, so I can pretty much do whatever I want.
It's true,
but
I also think that the players that, like, not just the one, because the one that freaked out is not the only one who doesn't like it, but the ones who don't like it have we've been playing with each other for quite a few years at this point, and we as friends and as people are growing together. So I've seen over these years and years and years of playing with each other, one, we're learning how to make it fun for everybody all together. And secondly, we're also learning to enjoy when the other players are having fun. So there are players that are like, I really only enjoy combat, but through me improving as a DM, I'm able to engage them more in the other parts and actually get to a point where they are having fun with those parts that they originally did not come to D&D for. But that also took years and the maturity to be like, I'm willing to grow.
Yeah,
but it was also never
really important.
But it was also never an overt conversation. We never said, hey, we're going to do these. You need to learn to live with it. It was just over the time of us playing and being friends that they have gotten more engaged, and I've gotten better at making those more interesting times.
Yeah, so still kind of building off this, because I'm still interested in kind of like how you go about bridging this gap with history, because you talked about writing out documents and papers and stuff. What do you do when it's one of the players who doesn't necessarily like lore dump as much. What do you do for them? Do you still write out a document for them? Do you like
Yeah,
talk
so I
to
would
them
give
about it?
them.
What's the process there?
So I would give them the document, and then they could literally say, "I don't care. I'm not going to read it." The world doesn't end, but also most often one of the other players would be like, "Well, if you don't care, can I read it?"
Yeah, yeah,
And it
makes
also
sense.
doesn't. It
And then
doesn't
they
always like for their play style. It doesn't ruin the fun by them not reading it. They're still going to go to the next room and hit the guy.
right. But it kind of gives the player the agency of choice whether they really care or not. Like, oh, thanks for
Yes.
this. Cool, let's keep going. You know, like
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could play in a campaign like that. To be honest, I mean, I could, but I love the lore of worlds in general. I just find them so fun and interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun. And you know what I probably like most about it? Not even necessarily the story aspect of it, but like DMs. I mean, at least me. DMs love lore dumps. I love like having a big lore dump and it kind of connects the dots for all the players. Like last night was like a really big one for us where like all the connectors were starting to like, come together and you were starting to see the whole bigger picture through, lore and through the events that have, transpired.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know, like as a player, I love it when like a DM just sits and explains the world and like, watches me connect the dots, Like I love that part of D&D.
Yeah, me too. I like that too.
And I was talking to Chris about it last night, who's, also in our game for people listening. And he was like, that's one of his favorite parts too, as a DM and as a player, is like, connecting those dots through lore history and through, events that have transpired and being able to kind of solve these issues that are arising and then go deal with them. And, then you get to the combat part. Like if you don't necessarily like, a ton of lore dumps, but it leads you a lot oftentimes to those combat situations, and I think we said before in the podcast, I'm not I like combat, but like I don't know, I get bored really easy when I'm a player in combat. I just do, and I think everybody does probably a little bit to some degree, because like you sit around, you wait for your turn, like watch your other friends go do stuff, and then you go do stuff, which is why I really like difficult combats because it just stimulates my mind more when I am in a difficult combat. But anyways, that's it for the Lukewarm Open. So.
Well, I think it's time to get into our topic for the week.
Yeah, what do we got? We got more fun gurglax or whatever.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce this one, so we'll see how this goes.
Good. Good.
So, we're going to start with this. The aboleths have many
7.
different tales of their origin, as different editions of D&D and stories in the Forgotten Realms promote differing ideas. Previously on the podcast, we talked about one of these stories, where an aboleth slipped through the plane from the far realm when the world was incredibly young and watched the world grow from under its waters and just slowly birthed more and more aboleth, as I believe they reproduce asexually. But the topic we're talking about
That's just terrifying.
today, another horrifying thing about that is it's still alive.
Oh gosh.
They don't die unless they're killed, and they keep growing bigger. They never stop.
Yeah.
So it's
massive. Like
massive.
the size of a skyscraper down there.
It's way bigger than that, my guy. It's bigger than a city.
Gosh. Oh no.
It's
I love that.
ginormous.
That's so cool.
It's called Eldest, and it is the oldest aboleth known. Nobody knows what it's doing or where it is, but they know it's down there.
I wonder what its CR is. Like how strong comparatively to a lot of things is it?
It survived wars with gods, so I'm going to say pretty high.
Yeah, I think I would probably put it at a pretty high CR if it's
At least 25. Gods, At the very least 25.
Yeah, I mean, you have to start putting up with dragons then, because dragons are able to do that kind of thing. So, it's got to be Got to be pretty high up there.
But the topic that we're going to talk about today proposes another idea. It doesn't say Eldest doesn't exist, but it says that the aboleths were born from something else. There is consistency, as I said, with these kind of truths that still exist in all stories of the aboleths' origin. Mainly, one, the aboleths have been here for an exceptionally long time, watching the world grow and change. And two, they have massive respect and reverence for elder evils while despising the gods. Because the story, I don't know if you remember from our aboleth episode, which I think was pretty early on in our Dungeoneered history.
Episode 3 or something.
Yeah, something like that. They ruled the world at one time. They had every single race under their control in the world. The humanoids...
Bet you they still want it.
Oh, they 100% still want to do that again. All of the humanoids eventually began to call out for aid and for someone to come and save them, and the people they called out to were the gods. And in doing so, they made the gods stronger and stronger and stronger, and the aboleths were so arrogant that they didn't see that as a problem.
Your pride and lust for power. Sorry.
Until the gods came down and slaughtered them and freed the humanoids, and now we have the races where they are in the world, and the world develop as it does. But these that's another thing that makes these guys horrifying. Aboleths, when they have children, the children have all the memories of the adult, of the parent.
It's just horrifying.
So all of them remember ruling the world and being kicked out and being knocked down.
You know, I probably talked about this in our aboleth episode, but I've never ever used an aboleth in my entire life.
Yeah, I've used them like 3 times at this point. They're awesome. They're also not as cool as they should be. So I would want to find a way to make them. I would not throw them at the party until the party had abilities to deal with the true horrifying effects of an aboleth, because the aboleth have that mucus that go around them that when a humanoid gets near it, it makes you not able to breathe air anymore.
Yeah.
It makes you breathe water.
Yep.
Which is real rough.
Yeah, it's super creepy too, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I just want to say this because this is hilarious. I don't remember the person's name, and I'm really sorry. I'd like to give you a shout out, but I do not remember your title. But there was a TikTok guy who he always does like funny little videos of weird things that a player could do that would be like shock the DM, that would completely destroy their idea. And so like he's done a wizard jumps out the window and then teleports away, and he's like, I counterspell, so the wizard just falls, or like things like that.
Gosh.
And so he the last one was that really made me laugh, and it relates to the topic sort of, is that he had the DM describe that the Triton sees he's losing, so he jumps off the boat and goes to swim underwater, and the person's wizard's like, I cast Water Walk on him. So with Water Walk, first off, there's no save. Second of all, you can't go under the water.
Yeah,
it's not like you can choose. You just can't.
Does that mean if you fall really hard on the water, you like smash into it like concrete?
Huh. That would certainly be a question.
Or do you go into the water and then launch back up?
I would say go in the water and launch back up is what I would assume.
I don't know. It'd be kind of fun though.
So
like you just.
Sorry, I had that intersection there. I've just been talking about that with my friends because it's like this speed that you go at is so fast. It's 60 feet around, so that's 60 feet every 6 seconds. And so we were talking about like speeds of torpedoes and stuff, and he was saying that he saw something online where somebody said if you had a bunch of cows under the water
What?
and you cast water walk on them and use them as little like missiles
Torpedoes?
to slam into boats, it would be some of the most devastating damage you could do.
That would be so funny, though. How the heck did you guys get on that conversation?
Man,
This sounds like a Jonah conversation.
that's Jonah. Yeah, Jonah, my coworker that also plays. Yep.
Okay. I was like, this sounds like a Jonah conversation, and I love it.
And it's Cow Cove. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. Anybody who goes there, any boat who goes there never returns, and no one knows why.
It's so good. Because there's water walking cows.
So
Stupid. I love it.
the topic this week is Piscaethces.
Torpedo cows.
I'm gonna spell it out, and I want you to type this out in front of you and try and see if you can pronounce this.
All right, I'm ready.
Piscaethces.
Let me just double check that I got this right.
Okay.
It's EIS.
P.
C-A-
P. It's P.
Oh. Wait. EIS.
P is in ponder.
Oh, I don't know how you say this name. What the heck?
Piscaethces?
I
So it's Piscaethces.
It can't be Piscaethces, though, right? Because
Piscaethces,
that's just
the Blood Queen.
that reminds me of like like when you're a DM and you name something and you just like name it and you don't really think about it too much and then you say it out loud for the first time and you're like, and all your
Crap.
players kind of giggle and you're like, what?
Yep. So
Piscaethces. Like Mike Hunt.
Piscaethces, the Blood Queen. She is an aboleth deity of domination and oppression. And it wasn't
Gosh, it
until
makes her name so much better.
later editions of her that she grew out of deityhood and became known as more of an elder evil. Now, because of this change, we have quite a few details on her that we don't have for other elder evils because they're trying to maintain this kind of eldritch horror level of ambiguity. The Blood Queen is described as an incredibly large, bloated aboleth with no tentacles, surrounded by mucus just like other aboleth, but it is actually blood red in color. Now, her picture is, quite frankly, fantastic. So I'm about to post it in Discord because she is a queen for sure. It is
I'm ready.
a fantastic image, and I don't know who the artist is, but they deserve a credit. Massive amounts of it.
I'm really hoping you just post like a 4-year-old's drawing. That's really what I'm hoping.
Sadly, it's not.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's rough. It is. There's like these kind of crystals on her back. She's pink in color, except for the blood red mucus that is constantly extruded from underneath her. And she's, yeah.
She kind of looks like a giant pink slug with crystals that kind of grow along her back. With along the sides, she has like pink elephant trunks that are like stubby and short that fall along her side and like secrete like a blood red liquid. It's so gross looking.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, she's a heavily bloated aboleth.
Yeah, I mean she doesn't even look like an aboleth at this point.
If you look at an aboleth and you look at her, you're like, no, I'm starting to see the connections.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. No, she definitely does, but it's so far removed now.
Yeah. Now her domain is
so gross looking.
her domain is upon the plane of Bator, or the 9 hells. Specifically, she resides in the third layer called Minaris. Minaris is a wonderful level, as are all the beautiful levels of the 9 hells. It is full of acid rain and flesh-slicing hail.
Flesh-slicing hail?
Yep.
Sounds like a great
A
place.
fantastic
Just
place to live. Man, the housing market is so good there.
the view is probably incredible, you know? At least you got that.
It's got a lot of fog. Thanks to its
Yeah,
climate, it's full of horrifying marshes and bodies of water infested and filled with the type of creatures that feast on rot. And
Feast on rot?
rot. Yep, as there's a lot of rotting flesh there.
Ew.
Piscaethces is perfectly at home here. As she leaks her mucus on her surroundings, she creates a giant bog of her foul mucus, making a spot for herself here.
Okay, that's super gross, but also super interesting and super cool.
It is.
You have to wade through a bog of her own secretions.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Now, the aboleth, yeah, that's actually going to give you really bad ideas. I don't like that. I shouldn't have
Yeah,
done this.
it is.
You're going to use it.
I just wrote it down.
Now, the aboleths do not reside with her. They reside on the prime material plane, and they believe that she also rarely is actually at her home. They believe that she is traveling the planes of reality, and almost without thought or effort, she appears to spread her seed across the worlds. So she just leaves. She leaves aboleths all over the multiverse by just flying through.
Oh, it's so gross.
Now, her goal is to dominate all of existence, just like the other aboleths. But unlike them, she doesn't seem to care about the material plane. If anything, she avoids it, and she works to control the other planes. This uncaring about the material plane extends to the aboleths that live upon it. It's even said that they were created as accidents, and she has no opinion on them whatsoever. Now, the aboleths understand and even like this idea that she ignores and doesn't care about them. Because the idea to them of having no God watching over them is seen as liberating, enabling them to live as they wish and not bow down to the commands of a higher power. Now, the Blood Queen is not worshipped as a god, but more respected and revered in a sort of idealism sense. Like, all the aboleths look to her as a powerful elder evil, thinking, man, that's how I want to be. I want to be powerful like that.
Oh, yeah. I just look at her and just think I would love to be just like that. That's the goal.
They do occasionally sacrifice individuals to the Blood Queen, even though they don't outright worship her.
How does she eat them?
What do you mean?
She's just like, I mean, where's her mouth? Is it like underneath that big pink?
I think they literally just do blood sacrifices. They do not actually meet her ever. Because as I said, they reside on the prime material plane. She doesn't go to the prime material plane. Does that make sense?
She's just so gross. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. She's just so... Do you think the pink color makes it worse?
I do. I think the pink color is... First off, it's iconic. It now is her thing.
Yep. Queen.
Blood Queen, specifically. But,
Yeah. Oh, boy. Are those little tubes, those little, like, elephant trunks, are those just for secreting liquid?
No.
Or do they do other stuff?
I think they are more like, you know how, like, the bottom of a snail and a slug, I guess, have that kind of waving pattern?
Yeah.
I think it's that.
Oh, are those just like folds? Are those folds or are those
they're
like
just folds.
Tubes. They kind of look like tubes.
They do look like tubes in the drawing, but I'm almost 100% sure they're just folds.
Because the one on the right, like that's up on the rock,
yeah,
that kind of looks like a weird trunk tube thing to me.
I think either they are tubes that should have tentacles coming out of them, because as I said, she doesn't have any tentacles, unlike other aboleths, or they're just folds. Yeah, I think they're tubes. I think they're where her tentacles are supposed to be, but she doesn't have any.
Yeah. Oh, it's so gross. Okay. Anyways,
now they're disputing.
I'm a big
facts.
fan of scary flesh monsters, so we all know I like this thing.
Yes, Now, there are disputing facts about the Blood Queen when it comes to granting powers like a god. Some say aboleth savants, a rare in number group, are chosen of her and can cast cleric and wizard spells, while others suggest that no, they are not, and said that they can only cast wizarding spells. So we don't really know for sure whether she can or can't. Well, okay, we know for sure she could if she wanted to. We don't know if she cares to. We don't know if she thinks enough about her aboleth people to be like, yeah, I'll make some of you clerics.
No, listen, look at her eyes. She is a caring mother. Look at them. I mean, come on.
Everything I've read says no, she does not care.
Well, it's canon. She cares. Just look at those eyes.
We are almost done, but I want to tell you where she is right now.
At the bottom of the ocean.
Piscaethces left the material plane long ago, and the aboleths do not expect her return because she doesn't like the prime material plane. But they do hope that she does return, because for them, her return would mean that the world is circular in nature, meaning that it's like the ideas of history repeats itself. So if she returns, it means history repeats itself, meaning they're going to rule the world once again. So pretty much, even if she doesn't do anything, her appearing on the plane again is going to cause the aboleths to be like, oh, I guess it's time to rise up and attack everybody again. So we don't want that to happen. And that is what I have on the Blood Queen. Now, she is fantastic. We already talked about like the kind of basic idea of what we wanted to create this week. So as of what we have so far, we have gods are like celebrities. And the way that they get more followers is almost like how celebrities get Twitter, Instagram followers. They like literally create content that people want to engage with.
Kill each other in a gladiatorial arena. That's how we do it today.
Sometimes it's like MMA. Sometimes it's more like doing something entertaining. But no matter what, the god has to do something to attract followers. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we created kind of the moderator, the one who has chosen to not participate in any of these games, to instead rule over them and make sure they're fair. Secondly, the last week we created the this god of. He's a good god, but he found that the way that he can get his following is through looking evil, creepy, and playing up that character. So despite not being that, he plays that up. So this week we're going to do the opposite. We're going to create a deity that their whole look and appearance is, I'm this great, amazing person, but they're actually horrible. And maybe Aaron, maybe they're a horrifying flesh monster.
Oh, I see where you went with this now. Okay. Ooh, don't tempt me with a good time.
I know. So what you thinking?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I love the idea of a horrifying flesh monster that is like Prince Charming, that like is disguised as like Prince Charming. I think that's awesome. Because, horrifying flesh monsters, great, fantastic. Everybody loves them.
Yep.
I want this person, like my basic idea, and this is, I want your opinion on this. Shrek 2, okay? You know Prince Charming in Shrek 2? He's like
the creepy large head monster. Yeah.
He is, yeah. So Prince Charming is like, he's the fairy godmother's son. He is like super handsome, super popular, but he's a total jerk. But he doesn't act that way. And so I want this character to be like, handsome, strong, funny, charismatic, but in reality, he's a total jerk. So, is that kind of what you're thinking? That's what you're kind of picturing as well?
Yeah.
Okay. what do we want him to be the god of? Is he a god of anything? What are our thoughts there? Is he just
Beauty.
a god of beauty? Okay, I like that. I think that's funny.
They're
Okay.
just like so much the opposite of what they're the god of would be hilarious to me.
So god of beauty, of like kindness and generosity, or are we talking more
Kindness and
like
generosity is so good.
yeah, like he's just not that way at all? Like, is that what we're thinking? Or are we thinking? No, I
Yeah.
think I like kindness and generosity. I think that'd be pretty.
I think it's pretty hilarious.
So, what does this? Is this like a gladiator? Is this a person who fights? Is this like what do we see this person as?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I just have this image of like a knight in shining armor who takes off his helmet and with like flowing Fabio hair.
I don't know
Who,
what
like,
Fabio is, but like I'm
everybody
imagining
just-
like a flowing golden locks.
Yep, exactly. That like out of his helmet, and all the people like like faint, and he has like these amazing like interviews and communication with the people, and then he goes behind and just like closed doors and just like rants to his staff about how much he hates all these people, how much he hates the world. Like he's scheming secretly to like usurp somebody else's power, and like he's just like a total a-hole.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking with this, and actually this is a really good question too that I have to bring up. The gods' domains. Okay, so this guy is a god of generosity, kindness, beauty, the pleasant things of life. Do you think gods have to follow their domain, or is it more things they have chosen to like represent, even if it doesn't represent who they are?
I think they gain some sort of power from their domain. I don't know if they have to follow it.
Because and I think I kind of agree. I think it'd be really interesting if like the gods chose their own domain, right? So at the very beginning, they all chose their own domain and chose things that either A, fits them really well, or B, things that they think they can fake really well. And so this guy chose beauty and kindness and stuff like that because he thought that would be the best chance to gain the most followers, right? Like if I take off my helmet and I'm like the most beautiful creature in the whole world, everybody's gonna want to follow me, right? So like that was his kind of idea, even though he's not that way at all. But
Yeah.
that's just his idea, and maybe the world doesn't know that these gods choose their own domains. Do you think the world would know, or are they totally oblivious to that kind of fact?
I'm gonna say it was
Or do some
decided
know, some
before they
don't?
know. Yeah, some know, some don't, but I think the majority don't.
Okay, I think I agree as well. So like for example, this god's like inner church, right? Like his top followers, his top members of Patreon, those top tier subscribers. Maybe they might have an insight on him, right? Maybe like the people who surround him have insight on who he is and what he does.
Yeah.
And maybe if like next week we create like a god of trickery or something, this god of trickery is trying to expose who he really is. Like you could do something like that too, and it'd be really fun. So I like the idea, and I think it's really unique too that the gods kind of like chose their own domains based on what they think they can accomplish to gain the most followers.
Yeah.
So this god was like really beautiful and really, really charismatic, and so chose to kind of go the route of I'm gonna act and fake, through this to win as many followers as I can for the most power. And I think it's kind of. Do you think it would backfire on him eventually?
I think I would leave that up to in the campaign.
Me too. I think I agree with that. Because I think it'd be really fun for the players to figure out who this guy is too. Like maybe they meet him a few times. Like maybe one of the characters makes like a super fan of this guy or whatever. Like it could be really fun that they eventually find out who this who this god actually is.
Yeah.
And then I picture this god as a gladiator, I think. Mainly because and correct me if you think differently, but I think like the main event is probably like gladiatorial fighting. I think that's probably what most people would love the most, right? I mean, it was in like real life. I mean, the gladiatorial events were huge all
Yeah.
over the medieval world. So I think that could be really, that's like the big one. And so he's chosen to participate in that. He's a good fighter too, right? But he's chosen to participate in that because that's what's going to give him the most exposure to, like he's not going to go do debate night, right? like, like that's not going to bring nearly the crowd. Maybe I could see him as like an actor or something, or like a somebody who participates in plays. Maybe that could be interesting too.
Yeah.
But I think really he is like a knight in shining armor. Like he uses a sword and a shield, calls down heavenly auras of doom.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like he's just a shimmering example of beauty. And then how do you think he upholds this facade? How do you think he kind of like keeps this up? What do you does he like do events? Does he give money to people? What does he do? I mean, I wouldn't think he would, right?
I think I think he makes himself look busy so he doesn't have to engage with fans.
Okay.
So I think it's like like my brain is just going to superheroes right now, but like
Yeah, yeah.
the idea of, oh well, I gotta save this person, so I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think too, like there'd probably be like like an inside edition magazine that's like, is this god really who he says he is?
I think it's
Find out
only
this week.
I think it's only the trashy ones. I think I think he has most people fooled. I think to the point where I think that there is like the people, like I think, as I said, he doesn't spend a lot of time with fans. I think the very few that have gotten like a signature from him, like it's worth so much money, and because people love this guy, like the world is fooled by this guy.
Do you think he is he one of the bigger gods? Like, does he have one of the biggest followings?
I don't think so, but I think he's mad about that. I think he wants to have the biggest following.
I want to say he has a really big following, but it's not the biggest.
Yeah.
He's upset that he's not.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, that's kind of I picture him like after he like either wins an arena. Like I picture like after the events happen, there's like a scoreboard in like the god room that has like number of followers and you can like watch your number rise.
Yeah, I
after
think
the event.
his is
And
I think he has stayed consistently at level 6. At like
Yeah, I was thinking 7 or 6 or 7. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
he is
too.
low
Yeah.
enough.
And like I picture him I think
7 is right. I think you're right on
like
7.
the god board.
I
Yeah.
think
Well,
he
I
will
picture him
do
looking up-
something during the campaign to discredit or maybe even kill level whoever's 6th so that
Yeah.
he can be
Oh, yeah.
that. And maybe that becomes a major plot point of like, I need you to pretend to be fans to figure out why this god died.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be really fun. But like I was saying, I picture him sitting in like this room where he's watching like his number of followers go up, but he doesn't surpass number 6 or whatever. And he like takes off his helmet, he slams it on the ground, he screams and gets super angry about it.
Yeah.
Has a tantrum, storms off because he didn't get as many as he wish he got. Oh my goodness. I had another question that I was going to ask that I thought was really important. Oh, do you think the gods are allowed to? So the gods probably know who these real people are, right? So a lot of the gods probably understand that the god of, beauty, kindness, and generosity is not that way, right? Are they allowed to try and do smear campaigns, or is that like prevented by the moderator?
I'm going to say that is highly discouraged. And I think I think it happened once and it was brutal, and like a bunch of things that like should not have been known by the general public got out because of this. And so they're like, no, we
like a big
can't
scandal.
like risk that again.
Yeah, I love that idea. So I'm thinking, like, it happened once, like you were saying, and something horrific happened. like
I'm imagining
maybe
a
several
war.
gods, like
Like
yeah,
the two
like
followings started a war against each other, which is horrifying.
or maybe now here's another option, and this could be really really horrific and really dark. But what if like it was called like the Great Reset, where like a bunch of people had to get killed because they found out that the gods were faking this thing, and humans discovered that if they just stopped worshiping them, the gods would become like humans, and so the gods had to like kill a bunch of humans, like humanoids. You could do something like
Okay,
that
okay,
for, like,
hold on. So combining the two,
Oh gosh. Oh no.
it is covered up saying it was a horrible war between the two followings. What it actually was is the two followings found this out and they had to mass slaughter many of them.
Yeah, so that
And they call it like the Great Holy
populace
War because it was this horrifying holy war that they don't want to have, but actually the gods were the ones who had to do the massacring of these humans.
Oh, it's so dark.
Oh, it's
So
horrifying.
dark.
I think there's definitely some
But I love
gods
that
that
idea.
that was the point where, like, maybe that's what we're going to create next week. The god who saw that happen and was like, I'm out. I quit. This sucks.
I'm done. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think there probably would be a few gods who are done after something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe only one, but I think that'd be a great thing to create.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we do something like that where something horrific happened. This like holy war happened that was like actually a slaughter to kill a bunch of people who learned the secrets of what was going on between these gods. So it was a big slaughter, and then it then became illegal to do so. I think the moderator then was like, "No, we can't do this anymore because it risks our livelihood." So the gods, while they're all powerful, they rely so much on other people's worship and adoration and praise that if they stopped doing this and word got out that a lot of these gods were just faking it to get power, that if humanoids stopped worshiping them, they would lose power. So they made these type of smear campaigns, so to speak, illegal, because if you came out with, oh, the god of beauty and kindness and generosity is actually a horrifying flesh monster who hates humanity, right? Then, like, bad things would happen. People would stop believing. People would stop participating in these events, and horrible things happen. So
Yeah.
smear campaigns are kind of illegal, but I don't think that stops it from happening, like under the table. So what I mean is I picture like celebrity leaks that happen, right? Where like a top member of, this guy's like court leaks some information about this god, or the gods themselves kind of leak a little bit of information to try and have certain gods lose following. And I think we should create a god who lost like a whole bunch of following for one of these leaks that was fake and like totally was faked on them, and they end up losing a bunch of stuff, and now they're down in the dumps. But anyways, so I think like it doesn't stop it from happening, but it's heavily discouraged, and so the moderator really cracks down on it and tries to find people who do stuff like that to crack down on it.
Totally.
What do you think the punishment is for those who do something like that? Because we have to have a punishment system. If the gods like break the rules and the moderator has to crack down, what's the punishment? Is there like a memory erasing ceremony where they can erase the memories of some of their followers or something, so they lose followers permanently? Or is that like, did the gods no, this is something we could do too, which is totally weird. Did the gods create humanity to have like a way you can like erase their memories from existence after this? So now if there is punishment, you can like erase people's memories of like the god they follow and stuff like that, to like reset them. Or
I think
if an event like this
yes,
happened
and I
again.
think what modify memory is somehow tapping into that.
Yeah.
So modify memory is literally like they just kind of found that if you do magic around a person in this weird way, you cause something to trigger in their brain, and they literally forget the 10, 15 or whatever, how many minutes. So it's literally triggering that same built-in reset button.
No, absolutely. And so I think after this like holy war slaughter, the gods gathered together and like, okay, we need to make sure that if something like this happens again, we can like hit a reset button without, killing all of our followers, right? And then we can like start over and regain our followers back. And so they created like some sort of, reset button or like a, reset thing in the mind that they can like trigger if they need to.
Hold
The
on.
last resort.
Hold on.
I'm holding.
Do you think that it wasn't the races that we know in D&D before? So at that point, they killed the whole race of whatever came before.
I see what you're going with.
And then they built the elves and the humans and the dwarves and the gnomes afterwards.
That's so good. Yeah, that's so good.
Because they're
so
like,
good.
okay, take two.
So- No, I love that. It was once a totally different group of humanoids that no longer exist because the gods had to erase them from existence because they found out what the gods were doing. And now they've created the current humanoids with brains and things that, it's like a reset in the brain that they can manipulate if need be.
You want to know something horrifying that also would have had to happen at some point because of how we've set up this world?
What?
There would have to be a time in history when the old race was still around and they were starting to find, hey, like, there's these weirdnesses going on with the gods. The gods would have to keep them alive and following them long enough to build a new world, because otherwise they would run out of power. So there would be this time in history where they would all be lying and saying like, hey, why are you creating that like large moon over there? And they would just have to be like, oh, it's going to be like a vacation spot for you guys. And like, they would have to lie to their people only to eventually blow up the planet and replace it with the thing they've been building.
Yeah.
That would be a horrifying and incredibly interesting time in history if you like ever do like a one shot there. Like, oof.
Oh, like a different time frame that occurred as a one shot? That'd be really fun too. Oh gosh. I'm not going to lie. What I love so much about this world right now is that it's kind of silly, right? Like it's pretty silly right now, but it's really dark. It's got a really dark past. Like it's really dark. Like it's all just a giant mask to cover up the darkness that has occurred in the past.
Yeah.
Just because the gods want to gain power and gain followers and gain more, ability, which is just so fun.
I know this is next week, but do you think the god that said, I'm done with this, is like heavily burned and scarred in some way? So even if he went and tried to like do things as the other gods do, he would have a hard time making followers because of vanity.
I mean, there'd have to be some sort of like way to keep him silent, right? Because he would probably want to let the world know, right?
I don't.
And
I know. I think yes, he does. But I think they threatened and said, we'll burn this world to the ground if you tell them.
Yeah.
So he'd rather not have the world have it happen again just because he wants to tell them.
I think I also thought too, like, what if he was like the exception to the rule where these gods like have used him as like you can never worship this individual, and they have him like as like a public laughing stock now. Like they have framed him as like,
I would say no.
They're essentially no. Okay.
Because we talked about this earlier while we were creating the idea of some gods that said no and just went and just like created like a small little like place where they can live in the forest, and then like slowly a following of people who are also disillusioned with this have like come and started following them. And I like that
Yeah.
idea. I really like that
Yeah.
of, and maybe someone else got shunned in this way, and that was more because they cheated during one of the fights or one of the events, and they got
Now
shunned. And this person they're not shunning because it's kind of a mutually assured destruction, but they also don't want it to happen. They don't want to have to destroy this world.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also, we kind of have to be careful too because, like, I don't want, and this is kind of why I want to lean away from like the shunning thing from, this god who doesn't want to participate anymore, is because I don't want like the whole pantheon to be like super evil, right? Like this is just things they've done out of necessity, right, to keep their power. They're
Oh
not
no, I think the
necessarily
majority of them are good people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like while this event happened and was horrific, a lot of them don't like it. But here's another thing that I was thinking too. What if like, and I don't know how I'd want to work this out if I even want this to be the case, but what if the gods also forgot? Like what if the moderator made the gods forget too? So some of them don't even remember what the past was either. And like if there was
Like the ones who couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
They could have agreed.
Like
I think there was a sign up where it was like, if you don't want to remember this, you don't have to.
Exactly. So,
and I think
if there was some sort of like great revelation, it would lead to some sort of horrible civil war, some sort of disaster between the gods who are like, whoa, we've overstepped our bounds here, right?
Do we want this god that we're making this week to be the big bad evil guy?
I kind of want to, yeah.
Okay. So my idea for what he's doing, and two, how he's doing it. I think one, he is one of the few gods that actually enjoyed killing the other race.
Yep.
And I think he found one that other people for some reason didn't have this ability, but he did. He was gaining power from killing.
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
So since he tried doing it the normal way of just like, I'm just going to keep fighting and doing my thing, and he was not winning. He was not getting the followers. He was not getting over those that he was not in first place yet. So he has started these cults that he goes and like has them get all these sacrifices, which he kills to gain power. Yeah. And he's trying to gain the power to be number one.
What if also too, we start the campaign with, like it's like Gladiator Day, right? Like everybody's coming from all over the continent to, all over the world to come and watch these gladiator fights, right? So you get the party excited and you have like a ton of fun, and like it's, big celebration. People are watching these amazing and fun fights. It's just like a total blast, right? And then, like 3/4 of the way through the event, maybe it's a week long or something, one of the gods goes missing, right? Like like 5th place or 6th place goes missing, right? Vanishes, gone from existence.
Yep.
People don't know where they went. The gods are in a mad scramble to try and like cover up the story. And, later down the line, it turns out that because, this god that we've created gains power from killing, he killed number 6 to gain a spot, but then also gain a tremendous amount of power.
See, I want that to kind of be middle of the campaign type event.
Okay.
I like the idea of starting off first with the gladiatorial day, because you're teasing what's going on, but you're not ever going to say it.
Yeah.
And I think gladiators go missing. It's a lot smaller scale.
First.
It doesn't need to be god number 6. It's some gladiators went missing. They were low level, but they were still like gladiators. And maybe you even have the party give the possibility of being gladiators. And if they are, maybe they met these people or fought against them, and they were like, yeah, those guys are good. And they went missing.
The party is tasked with finding the group that gets rid of the gladiators,
and they find eventually they find this cultist, and then they find the cult, but they don't know who's controlling the cult or what they're doing or anything. And eventually it becomes, they find out that it's for that god, and all this is going on.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think too, what you would do is, I don't, again, this is like we still have a lot to create before we kind of really flesh out what the campaign kind of looks like. But
Oh, totally.
I'm even thinking like, you know, the god of beauty, kindness, and generosity like thanks them for stopping this cult, right? Even though he was the one who you know what was using them, like he congratulates them and rewards them, and you know like you know like he essentially butt kisses the party.
He's kind of the
Before they
quest
know.
giver for that one, and he's
Yeah.
like, wow, like thank you so much. You like maybe they were his gladiators, so they were gladiators under his banner. So
Yeah,
he
I mean,
he
yeah,
like tries to do
that'd be
everything
great.
to distance himself from. Why would I want to do this? I've lost
These were my
followers. That would
fighters.
be horrible for me. So why would you ever
Yep.
think I would do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's super fun. I love this campaign. It's gonna be so much fun. I love this season.
It's definitely fantastic. I love all this.
I know, me too.
Well,
Me too.
that is it for episode 91 of Dungeoneered.
Woo!
Thank you all for listening. And if you...
Was it gonna be a fast outro?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't either.
If you listen to us on any podcasting apps with ratings and reviews, it really helps the show. If you write a review, it shows you're engaging with the show, and also that it kind of helps the application to start promoting us and showing us to more people, which really helps. If you'd like to write to us, you can write to us at dungeoneered@hotmail.com. We'd love to hear from you if you have ideas for topics, lukewarm opens, or just want to talk to us about something cool you created in your world, or something cool that we created that you used, or anything. We'd love to hear it all. Anything you can think of, Aaron?
Nope, I don't think so.
Well, thank you all for listening. And as I always say, always remember to be the sharpest barrel in the bunch. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.